Welcome, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. Today we're going to show you how I cook my CrockPot beans, and we're out here in the garden. It's early October, and so we're going to pick a few green peppers and then we'll meet you inside. But I have a nice red pepper down here, and there's another pepper, and we're going to chop these up in the kitchen and use them in our beans. So we'll see you in the kitchen. Well, we're back in the kitchen. You know, we just love our CrockPot beans here, and you know, one of these days we may think about getting an Instapot. We know that's the rage for today, but we still kind of like doing some things the old-fashioned way. One thing nice about cooking them in a CrockPot is you can smell them cooking all day, and so we do love that idea. So what we're going to be doing now is I've had these beans soaking overnight, and I'm just going to drain them. We're using the black beans this time around. We also use the pinto beans. That's one of our favorites, and also black-eyed peas, and so it's kind of fun to mix them up. But what I'm going to do is add some water to that. So I'm just filling up the container right now. But what I also do is I use this is our homemade spaghetti sauce, so I'm going to add a quart of that. And you know, you could also you could add any type of tomato sauce if you want. Of course, you want to try to make sure that it's oil-free. And another thing you could do too is you can add organic, these are organic tomatoes. They're diced tomatoes in tomato juice. And so we get these from Trader Joe's, but that's another good thing that adds a lot of nice flavor to your beans. And so let me just add, I'm going to add the onion. This is one onion that I diced. And so this is just going to give it a lot of nice rich flavor. And then I also got the two peppers from our garden. Now the red pepper, you saw the bell pepper, is just a green pepper that's matured a little bit longer. And so we have two bell peppers in there. And then what I'm going to do is just, you want to make sure you have about 1.5 to 2 inches of water above your beans. So let me just add a little bit more water. And you would also want to just be checking this every couple hours. What I'm also going to do is, you know, I like to add extra ingredients to this. I'm going to be putting in some barley. This is actually a 10-minute cooking barley, but you could just use standard barley that cooks for about 45 minutes or more. So I'm going to add a third cup of that to the beans. And most of the time I can just wing it and just dump it in there, but it is kind of nice to have an idea of how much you put in. And then this is another grain. It's called Farro. I get these from Trader Joe's. It's Farro. It's just going to add a lot of more protein and fiber. And then also we love our lentils. We use the lentils here in our house. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump these right out of the bag. Well, let's just see how much is in there. Hold on. There we go. So we got about another third cup. So we're going to add that to the mix. There's a few more left in here that I'm going to just dump in. And that's the one great thing about cooking this way is you don't really have to be real accurate in all your measurements. You know, some people may like a little bit more smoked paprika, so you can add a little bit more of that, or garlic, or vice versa. And so I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of garlic. That's a heaping teaspoon, but this is a crushed garlic we get from Trader Joe's. But you could also use the granulated garlic. That's also another easy choice. So we'll sometimes use both. So you want to add that in there. Now again, another favorite of mine. My wife and I were at an Indian restaurant months ago, and I got some white rice with cumin seeds, and it was just delicious with the cumin seeds added. And so this here is just a bag of cumin seeds that you can get at most. Well, we got this at an Asian store. I'm just going to throw in a handful of that, probably about 1 tablespoon. And so you can see how pretty that looks. And there we have all the different grains floating on top. I'm going to be ready to stir that in. And so, but I'm not going to add my spices now. I'm going to wait for about 4 hours till I mix my spices in, because you don't want all that to lose their flavor. And so I'm going to probably down the road add about a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and then a teaspoon of ground cumin. And there's the smoked paprika again. But it gives it a nice smoky flavor. Also, if you want, you can add a little bit of liquid smoke down the road there in about 4 hours. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stir all this together. Because the barley and the different grains, the lentils, they're going to soak up, and the farro, they're going to soak up some of the liquid too. So you just want to make sure that you always have enough liquid there. And so what I'm going to do is make sure that's on high. It's going to cook on high for about 4 hours. And then I'll bump it down to low for about two hours after that. You want them to cook about 6 hours, 7 hours total. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my handy phone here and set timer for 4 hours.
Okay, it's set, and the suspense is killing me.
And so this will help remind me in 4 hours to add my spices. And so we're going to let this cook for a while, and we'll see you back in a little while. So our beans have been cooking for about 6 hours. You know, they cook anywhere between 6-7 hours, depending on what type of bean you use. And it's something, of course, you want to check along the way, keeping them stirred. And so one other flavor I forgot to add, and is our spicy brown mustard. I put a couple teaspoons or tablespoons of that in your beans. And so I would encourage you to also maybe think about adding some of your spicy brown mustard. You know, and if you want to be a little bit more smoky flavored, you can add a little bit more cumin or a little bit more of your liquid smoke as well. And so we're just going to give these beans a stir, and you can see how good they look. The tomatoes have broken down, and the peppers from the garden are cooked down really nice. And so what I'm going to do is just put together a tortilla or a wrap. These are one of our favorites here in our household. They seem to be a main staple. And we also use our brown rice that we cook a batch of this once a week, and then have it's already ready to go for our wraps. And so I have some rice already laid out here, and then these tortilla shells, the Ezekiel ones 4.9, are a very healthy oil-free wrap. You get these, there's 6 in a pack. They're around $3.25, and so we just love those Ezekiel wraps. And so I'm just going to put some of these beans right on there. But my wife and I, we just crave these things. We love them so much. You know, once you get away from all the oils and the grease and the fats, your taste buds reset. And so the whole food, plant-based foods, they just really come alive once our taste buds readjust to all these different flavors. And so we also like to use cilantro in our house here. So I'm just going to take the scissors and cut some up nice and small. We like using the scissors for this. It makes it nice and easy. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of hot sauce on here. This is just like a medium hot sauce. It's not real hot. And then a little bit of liquid amino. And then also Nutrition's yeast. It's a nice flavoring. It gives a little bit of cheesy flavor. I use this on some of mine. My wife doesn't use it as much as I do. But so anyhow, you just carefully fold these, wrap it over, turn it over, press it down a little bit, and I'm just going to get some of the hot sauce and sprinkle it right on top, like that. And I typically go like that with my finger. So it's all ready to go in the microwave. And so I'll microwave this for about a minute and a half, and you have a nice, healthy, low-calorie filled dinner. It's got the beans are very full of soluble fiber and protein, and so it's a win-win situation for dinner. And so that hot sauce. That's just a little bit hot. So anyhow, I would encourage you to try our smoky tasting CrockPot beans. They're just really delicious. And so I just want to thank you for joining me. This is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.